How's it going, guys? Welcome back, and I hope you're doing well. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to go over why I think you should give Assault a shot. Now, before we do, as some of you may know, I do like to do unscripted content, so if it does get a little long-winded, I will put the chapters down below for easy navigation. Other than that, let's get into Assault. Now, Assault, I would argue, is the lesser of the two, I guess, heavy, uh, heavy attack combos after your swift attacks, even though technically, as you can see, they are both Shadow Reversal and Assault. They are classified as a swift attack. That is their category, so they benefit from a swift attack modifiers. The reason why I call them, it's like the heavy follow-up is because, your square button or your potent blow button is used to activate them, right? So, but just know that they are classified as swift attacks, and they gain benefits from the swift attack bonuses of whatever gear set that you're using. But anyway, Assault, I would argue, is the lesser of the two used because Shadow Reversal is extremely straightforward, right? And also has the very, very useful benefit, basically, of getting behind your opponent almost whenever you want, right? Getting really good backstab damage, especially when they're exhausted or their stance is broken, right? So I think the benefits of Shadow Reversal are pretty obvious, right? But Assault, I think, because it's lesser used of the two, it may not be as apparent the benefits of it. So we'll start from the top. So Assault, and unlike its parent, or not parent, it's like lateral skill, Shadow Reversal, you can put multiple points into the original skill. So off the bat, one thing is you'll see that it is pricier. If you go with Assault, it is going to take more of an investment in your spear skill tree to fill it out rather than Shadow Reversal. But more points into the skill give you more stamina damage. Something small to note here at the bottom of the skill is you deal additional stamina damage to enemies whose stance is not broken. So if you don't break their stance, you deal that much more stamina damage to chip away that stamina bar. The second tier, which is really, really nice, Assault Glide, you deal additional damage by rebounding off your enemy with a kick. So kind of like Shadow Reversal, the initial part of Assault is just like Shadow Reversal, right? You hit an enemy with the attack, but like Shadow Reversal, when you hit that button again, instead of, repositioning behind your enemy like Shadow Reversal, you deal a follow-up attack. So for Assault, that follow-up is going to be rebounding off your enemy, but it deals additional damage, so it counts as another hit. This serves two purposes. One, it deals more stamina damage, right? So it counts as another hit. But the second purpose is that it spaces you away from your enemy. So this is also really good to use if you're about to be out of stamina, right? So you can use this when you're almost out of stamina to space yourself away from your opponent and keep that distance from your opponent if you want to keep spacing them, because again, you are using a spear, right? So you are going to benefit from being a little bit farther away from your opponent. It's a little safer. And actually, thirdly, sorry, there's one more benefit. At the bottom here, you can read if you dodge immediately after using Assault Glide. So you bounce off your enemy. If you dodge immediately after, that dodge does not consume stamina. Now, I can tell you that when they say immediately, this is pretty accurate. Like, you need to, when you rebound off your enemy, you really need to be planning ahead, right? If you're almost out of stamina, I would do a backwards dodge, right? So you rebound off your enemy. If you really need to regen your stam or whatever, if you need to regain your composure, if you need to heal, if you need to use a consumable, whatever you need to do, and you rebound off your enemy, do a backwards dash, and you're really going to space yourself away, right? You're really going to get some distance between you and your opponent, so you can breathe if you need some breathing room. But as another really cool benefit because we know that our dodge attacks are specific, right? So if we dodge attack, we have forward dodges, backwards dodges, side dodges as well, right? When you're locked on, you do different side dodges, which are really nice skills because then you can immediately go back into another assault if you need. But that's the thing, right? So it has some versatility there. So if you need some breathing room, you can assault glide and then immediately dodge backwards, and that won't consume stamina. Or if you want to continue pressing the attack, maybe into a spirit skill or two, right? You can assault glide, bounce off your opponent, and then come back forward for a dodge into a spirit skill, right? Continue pressing the attack like that. That's also why after image thrust, I'm really a big fan of after image thrust, because it helps you kind of extend that range. So if you assault glide, bounce off your opponent, then you come back in with a dodge attack right into after image thrust. Or again, if you bounce off your enemy, you can come back in with a vital strike, which is really good at closing distance as well. You can come back in, again, with an attack and a crescent strike, close the gap like that. There's a lot of really good gap closers that you have with the spear. So bouncing off your opponent and getting a free dodge is really, really useful. So don't overlook that. Next tier down, assault ambush. Now this is where I think some people misuse assault a little bit. So the third tier here, deal increased stamina damage when using assault to attack an enemy from behind. Now, this is the most ideal way to use assault, right? I would argue it's ideal because, again, you're going to be doing the maximum amount of damage and stamina damage when you attack an enemy from behind. However, sometimes it's not always as easy to do assault from behind because to reposition yourself behind an opponent, if you're using the spear, you usually say, oh, it's extremely easy, I just use shadow reversal. If you're using assault, however, a really good way to get behind your opponent is to use shadow strike. Shadow strike is really, really good to negate damage and get behind your opponent. If their stance is broken, great. If their stance is not broken, you can still, if you're fast enough, you can still get an attack in, one swift attack after you get behind your opponent with shadow strike, and then you can hit assault from there. But the reason why a small word of caution for this skill is don't let this bottleneck your gameplay, right? Don't think that if you're not using assault for backstabs, right? If you're not using assault to hit your enemy in the back, then it's not worth it. It's definitely worth it to use assault from the front. It's still very good. I would see, the way I see it, because again, you don't want to confine yourself, using assault from the front is just as good. Think of assault from the back, like assault ambush. Think of it as just a plus, right? If you get it, cool. If not, don't even worry about it. Make the standard not hitting them in the back, right? So that way you don't think, oh, I can never use assault. It's not really that useful. I don't use it that often. I would think of assault ambush as like a plus. Cool. If I get it, awesome. If not, all good. Now the third tier, or I guess the fourth, is assault descent. This is really cool. So if you use assault and you break your enemies, or if you exhaust your enemy, you go up into the air and then you gain another attack by striking downwards with the spear. Now, this does only trigger once per exhausted state, and, which is really good, it pauses the exhaustion timer during the animation. So you're not losing out on any exhausted time there on your enemy. Now what I have here is one of my favorite things to do with Assault is Assault Skyfall. And you'll see it in the videos here. I'm using it for all three fights. Assault Skyfall is really, really cool. Talk about style points. Basically, you hit Assault Descent, and it makes Assault Descent turn into this big, massive shockwave. And the shockwave's actually pretty big, so you can deal some nice AoE damage if there's any like mobs that are surrounding you or whatever. But ultimately, it just looks really, really sweet. I'm a big fan. It definitely has style points for sure. So that is the full description here of Assault. Now, I will say, In these fights, what I wanted to do was, again, I wanted to showcase Assault, but I went for the Deep Shadow set, which has a bunch of Assault benefits and After Image Thrust. Now, this is a very confining gear set, right? Like, it gives you a lot of bonuses, much like the Butcher set, right? Or, actually, not scratch that. I would say the Fallen Lord set, right? Fallen Lord, mainly its benefits to only Full Moon and Spiral Thrust. This is kind of similar to that in that you get benefits from Assault and After Image Thrust. Now, I love After Image Thrust. It's a very cool skill. Big fan. And the Deep Shadow set gives you frontal assault damage to kind of help make up for that, to make up for the fact that you kind of usually want to use assault from the back, right? You want to hit and backstab enemies. But there's some frontal assault damage on here, which is really nice. Now, another thing I will say, my favorite way to use assault that I personally like is I like to use it because its main benefit, and also one of the spear's main benefits, is that it really excels at dealing stamina damage, exhausting your opponent, and then basically you getting increased damage by hitting your enemy in an exhausted state. So it tries to maximize the amount of times that you exhaust your opponent, and then your real heavy hitting damage is going to come from there. Now, because of this, my favorite way to use Assault is with a Brink Guard heavy playstyle and Rod Smite, because Rod Smite is extremely fast. Rod Smite, I haven't tested the timings, but Rod Smite is definitely, from the feel of it, let's just say, Rod Smite definitely feels like the fastest counter attack, right? So for Greatsword, we have Armor Breaker. For Dual Wield, we have Blowback Vengeance, right? Blowback Vengeance is really quick, but in practice, Rod Smite feels faster. Rod Smite is super fast. There's even a couple of attacks, like some of Guido's 3-piece combos, things like that, Princess Alina's combos. I've been able to Rod Smite in between every single one consistently. Blowback Vengeance I can't. So Rod Smite's really quick, and you can use Assault right after Rod Smite, just like Shadow Reversal, and it's very fast. So that personally is my favorite way to use it, along with, and I don't have it equipped right now, but along with Maximilian as your Phantom. So if you use Maximilian as your Phantom, you're going to gain decreased stamina costs for guarding. You're going to gain stamina on your Brink Guards, so that way you're keeping your stamina topped off. And then, thirdly, for the second awakening, I believe, you're going to get increased stamina damage up to a max of 5 stacks per Brink Guard. So you Brink Guard, and you're going to gain up to 5 stacks when you Brink Guard, and that's going to give you increased stamina damage. So that Maximilian mixed with the Deep Shadow set, and I mean, not even just the Deep Shadow set, right? But Maximilian plus your Assault benefits and all the stamina damage you're getting from Assault are really going to do well at just absolutely obliterating your opponent's stamina bar. Another gear set that I do like to do, and I do still like to Brink Guard, is the Crush Dream set, because you do gain some Brink Guard benefits from, or well, really Rod Smite, right? So you can see on the ring, if you Rod Smite, you gain additional lightning attack damage, which is really, really strong, because that's just flat lightning damage, especially if your enemy is weak to lightning. Another, some additional jewelry options, if you have the jar, is you could even go with the Fugitive Mage. The fixed attributes are obviously Greatsword related, but the 3-piece Fugitive Mage is Brink Guard stamina damage, so that's additional stamina damage stacking that you can use. It's really, really good. But also, you could obviously also use a dodge heavy playstyle. I just prefer a Brink Guard heavy playstyle because it comes out really quick after Rod Smite. Now, I just want to recap real quick a couple things, because again, Assault is really good, but I will say that one thing, so we'll do a quick comparison. With Assault, it has, so there's those two tiers, right? So there's the initial kick. So you said initial kick there. And then there's the rebound. So remember, so I said it's an initial kick, but I would need an enemy to rebound off of them, which is an additional input. Now, with Shadow Reversal, right? With Shadow Reversal, I can do my initial stab, which is more, it's quicker, right? It's quicker and it's less of a commitment. And then I can trance out of that. Now this has extremely long recovery frames, so I can't do any other skill really as fast as trance. So you can see I'm spamming after image. See how long that takes when I could just trance? It's much faster. With Assault, however, that initial kick is a lot more of a commitment and it has longer recovery frames. So you see it's a little slower. But it can still be done, right? So if you don't want to rebound off your opponent, you just want to kind of pressure that way, you can do that. But it's just something to note, right? So if you don't want to rebound off your enemy, you don't have to. But if you're used to Shadow Reversal, Assault is going to feel a little slower off the bat. But I will say Assault is more of a commitment, right? So usually, right, if you're used to Shadow Reversal, sometimes you can get that initial stab in, right? And then you can dodge, right? So you can kind of play with your enemy like that, play with the spacing. You can dodge out of it. But with Assault, again, it's definitely more of a commitment when you're actually using the skill. This is why I think it's important when you switch to Assault or when you want to use it from Shadow Reversal, keep that in mind because you're going to have less openings than you're usually used to, right? But again, there's pros and cons to each. So those are really the pros of Assault. A couple of the cons are that it's more of a commitment. It takes more time to fill out the tree, right? And when you do use it, again, just keep in mind, because that has that little bit more of a commitment, you're looking to chip away that stamina damage, and you're looking to either stagger your opponent with your Assault, or you're looking to help exhaust them. A couple additional pros of Assault. It actually has really good stagger. Like, as you can see in the little video here, he exhausts them in the video, but these big Dragonkin actually, if you have an opening and you hit Assault, specifically Assault Glide, you can actually stagger them, which is really cool. You can break their stance, and then you can, again, like I was talking about, you can dodge back forward, keep up the aggression, keep pressuring them, and actually keep them stun locked by just using Assault, which is, to me, is pretty impressive, right? So you don't need to use Reflection on them. You don't need to, whatever other forms of, Full Moon. You can really just stagger them with Assault, and then you can continue, your combo. Another thing about Assault, which is really good over Shadow Reversal, is the stamina consumption. I've talked about this before on stream, but I haven't done a Shadow Reversal video yet. But you can see the stamina consumption for Assault is very minimal. Assault really does not consume that much stamina, especially when you compare it to Shadow Reversal. Shadow Reversal absolutely nukes your stamina bar, especially when you do the follow-up attack. When you do the follow-up slash or reposition, it really takes a lot of stamina to do that. I will say Shadow Reversal, when you have low stamina, is other than ideal, right? You really don't, it has a lot of value, right? But Assault, you can use more frequently, and you're going to use it for less stamina. So as far as stamina damage per hit, basically, you could say, Assault is going to give you a lot of bang for your buck. But just again, be aware of the time that it takes to do the skill. You're definitely committing to the attack more for those longer animations, but you are getting rewarded highly with a good amount of stagger to your opponent and a phenomenal amount of stamina damage. So guys, that's all I got for Assault. Very good skill. Give it a shot. I genuinely do. I do think it is slept on a little bit, because Shadow Reversal, it is great. I personally prefer Shadow Reversal, just because again the way it's faster, and I like to play it really fast. But Assault definitely has its place, and it's very useful, and I do still enjoy using it. Right? I would say that it's not optimal, but it's still really fun to use. It's just a different play style. Right? So it's really fun. Get in there, give it a shot. If you haven't used it, play around with it, get fluid with it, try to integrate it fully into your playstyle, because it's really fun. And I will say it is stylish as hell. As you're going to see in the videos later, it is extremely fun, and it looks so good. It looks so good. So that's really it. That's all I got, guys. Yeah, I got 3 fights for you today with the Deep Shadow set as well. So other than that, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to help out. And yeah. Other than that, I will see you in the next one.